Welcome to Watch the Booker Man and the final part of this 10-part TNA 2009 save. Not only that, it could be the last show that I ever book on TEW 2016, so I'm hoping we can go out with a good episode. This series is set to continue the release of TEW 2020, however, I'm not sure how soon that'll be, but with this New Year's Eve episode, we are technically under 24 hours until Paul Heyman's TNA contract officially begins on the 1st of January 2010. There has been a little bit of a leap in the timeline for this show. Final resolution was on the 20th of December, I think. The episode on the 24th of December was a clip show and a highlight show, and that happened to fit perfectly well. So we have jumped 10 days from the pay-per-view, so we're not 3 nights from Final Resolution. Instead, there's been a little time for everything to settle in, and we'll get the reaction to that show, albeit a little bit later than we expected. We are perfectly aligned with the timeline to end the year with this show, and go into 2010. January the 7th will be the first show of the Paul Heyman era, not January 4th like it was in real life, because I have no intention of fighting a losing battle against the WWE. We're nowhere near the size of them, it'll just be a stupid decision to make. Before all that though, we have to book the last show of 2009 with a show that hopefully puts all the pieces in the right places for a successful end to this decade and a great start to the next one with Paul Heyman's arrival in TNA. And this final episode begins with a segment between AJ Styles and Samoa Joe in the locker room, and they're discussing the events of Final Resolution, Joe making it clear that despite teaming with him against Daniels and Tomko tonight, the pay-per-view had nothing to do with helping AJ Styles and everything to do with getting revenge on Tomko and ensuring that Daniels didn't become the world champion. AJ Styles said that was all well and good, but suggested that Samoa Joe leave his Feast or Fired case, which guarantees him a shot at the world championship at any date of his choosing. He suggests or requests that Samoa Joe leaves the case in the back tonight just to make sure that he's not going to use it on him after the main event. Samoa Joe can't promise that, smirks and walks off. A little bit of tension between the two, but they are on the same page as they face Tomko and Daniels in the last match of 2009. We then get Kurt Angle coming down to the ring to cut a promo, and he is putting over the fact that he defeated Desmond Wolfe in a 3 Degrees of Pain match last night, and that means that not only is he staying in TNA, but he is the #1 contender for Genesis, the first pay-per-view of 2010. He says that it could be AJ Styles or it could be Bobby Lashley. He doesn't know, but what does matter is that he is the greatest wrestler in the world, and he is coming for the world title. Desmond Wolfe comes out. Despite his defeat, he isn't quite buying this, and he suggests that Kurt Angle took the coward's way out by winning the match via cage escape, despite the fact that he had to do that, and put over the fact that including the 2-1 victory for Kurt Angle last night, Wolfe still has 3 falls over Angle compared to Kurt's 2 over him. This led to Wolfe laying down a challenge to Kurt Angle for that first show of the Paul Heyman era, and Kurt Angle was more than happy to share the ring with Wolfe one more time, the final proviso being Wolfe wants Kurt Angle to put his #1 contendership on the line. Whether a smart decision or not, Kurt Angle agrees to this because he doesn't think that he deserved the title shot if he can't beat Wolfe in that match. That's going to be the first match, I think, of the Paul Heyman era, or it's currently penciled in to be when I finally get round to that save, and I think that'd be a great way to lay down what we're doing. I don't think there's a match that WWE can do at this time. I may be mistaken if I'm forgetting somebody that can match the in-ring intensity and the physicality of a Desmond Wolfe Kurt Angle match, and I really hope that when it comes to that, that will get a good rating and be a very, very good start to the Paul Heyman era. We'll then get the first of 3 triple threats in what is a one-night tournament. There's going to be 3 matches between 9 knockouts. The 3 winners of these 3 matches will then go on to face later in the evening, and the winner will face ODB for the Knockouts Championship at the January 7th show, the first show of the Paul Heyman era, as I'm going to keep mentioning as much as I possibly can. We're promoting the hell out of that show throughout the course of this episode, of course, because TNA have put a lot of eggs into the Paul Heyman basket. Spike TV have been promoting this. We've been on UFC, cross-platform kind of thing. It's all about that hard sell for this new era of TNA. And Tara, who was defeated by ODB in controversial circumstances at Final Resolution, picks up a win and advances, pinning Tracy Brooks in a fairly short match. Tara head and shoulders above the rest, as you'd expect, and she stands tall. She's still furious about what happened at the pay-per-view, but she wants ODB's title, and she'll have the chance to become the #1 contender in tonight's not main event, in a match later tonight. We then get another backstage segment. This time, Beer Money approach Consequences Creed and Black Machismo Jay Lethal. Storm has the X Division case, and he's heard that Consequences Creed's dream is to be the X Division champion. As a result, he wants to offer Creed a case swap. They get the Tag Team Championship case from Creed, and he gets the X Division Championship case. It seems like the perfect trade, but Creed says that he can't do that. He has a tag team partner in Jay Lethal, and he can't let him down by taking an X Division Championship shot when it would mean so much to the both of them to become the tag team champions and face the Motor City Machine Guns. Jay Lethal says it's fine. He understands that the X Division Championship is Consequences Creed's dream, but Creed has to think about it. He's not so sure about leaving his partner behind, but he's definitely tempted by the potential of becoming the X Division champion. The second match of the night in the Triple Threat mini tournament, Awesome Kong defeats Alyssa Flash and Madison Rayne, pinning Madison Rayne in 4 minutes and 31. It's another short match. Kong dominant and decisive. Alyssa Flash, unfortunate for her. I do think we need to do more with her when we get to 2010 because she's very, very talented. But at the minute, I just want to build up the already established names, and Tara Kong and the winner of the third match, I think, will make a better match for the number one contendership up next. As Awesome Kong comes out, she's leaving having won the match. Hamada makes her entrance for the match up next. A little bit of a face-off between them for a reason that will become clear later on in the night and will unfold going forward as we do. Before we see that third match, we get a little vignette in the back, just a promo for Roxy introducing herself back to TNA. She's got a different look but the same ambitions. She wants to become the number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. I didn't check her gimmick. She's got a diva gimmick which really doesn't suit her character at all. It understandably gets a poor rating. That's just her default gimmick in the database, and when we convert over to TEW 2020, that's not going to be her gimmick, so not going to worry about that. But it is Hamada who wins and takes the third spot in that triple threat, defeating Daphne and Rox in 5 minutes and 31. She pins Daphne. Roxy is going to be, I'm not sure how long she's going to be back, but I'm definitely going to use her over the first few months of 2010 and see how she performs and see if she can be a part of this Knockouts roster. So I've just had Daphne lose because she's more of a manager than a wrestler at this time. Again, she's somebody who I could probably do more with, and I'll definitely look into that when I have the time to plan the 2010 storylines out, because there's going to be a long time where I can just look into stuff like that and decide what I'm going to do in my roster. But for the minute, again, just putting over established names already, and I think Hamada is a little bit more, in terms of the rankings within the company, a little bit higher than Daphne at this point. We then get an interview to end the first hour with Lashley, and he's confirming that his title shot will take place on next week's Impact, the first of the Paul Heyman era, and he will face AJ Styles for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Crystal also comes in, and while Lashley's a little bit, not humble, but a bit more magnanimous, she is confident and she shows it. She says that her man is going to be the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and there's no way AJ Styles is going to stop him. We get a video package, as I've said before in a previous episode. We've done the X Division, we've done the Knockouts, now the Tag Team Division in TNA, with so many different teams who have so many different styles. We're putting over Beer Money, Motor City Machine Guns, Doug Williams and Brutus Magnus, and Hernandez and Matt Morgan. There are other teams in the company, but at the time, these are the most prominent ones. Notable by their absence is Team 3D. We don't get any clips or any footage of them. Just like how in the other video package there was no Kurt Angle. It's partially to do with, as we said, the young, hungry, aggressive roster, but also we're building a little bit into the storyline. There's a bit of paranoia there for them guys who might feel like they're being pushed out, and that will play into Kurt Angle's storyline going forward, and potentially Team 3D, another act that I've not fully decided what I'm going to do with. We then get a promo in the back, and Daniels is just embracing his heel side. He says that this isn't over with AJ. He should have become the TNA World Champion at Final Resolution, but with Tomko by his side, he isn't hiding it anymore. He is going to become the next TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He doesn't care if it's Lashley or Angle or AJ Styles. Obviously not the next champion in that case, but he is going to become the World Heavyweight Champion at the next opportunity he gets. And he has Tomko, who shares his hatred of AJ Styles, in his corner, backing him up. This leads into the first match of the second hour, the Amazing Red and the Motor City Machine Guns defeating the World Elite. We see there Amazing Red pinning Rob Terry, so perhaps the three of them working together to take him down, and then Red hitting the Red Eye. Again, I'm not 100% sure what that move is. Hopefully it doesn't involve any lifting, but Rob Terry the weak link. A very, very good match and a win for the X Division and Tag Team Champions, building momentum, Both teams will defend their titles on next week's episode of Impact. As we head to the back with a segment involving Mick Foley, he's talking to Jeremy Borash when he gets a phone call from a representative of Paul Heyman, perhaps Gabe Sapolsky, but he is not named on screen, so it doesn't really matter. And Mick Foley is instructed of the card for next week's show. He writes it down and he's excited about what he hears. He thinks that's going to be an excellent episode of Impact. A segment that promotes the main event because it involves 3 of the 4 men involved in that main event, but also just to put over the best match in TNA of the year. It was that unbreakable rematch, perhaps not as good as the first one, but it was a pay-per-view main event for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship where AJ Styles defeated Samoa Joe and Daniels to retain his title. It was a really great match in real life and it got, I think, about an 18 game, but it still was an excellent match, and these 3 obviously have great chemistry with each other, and it shows. Tara wins the triple threat, also involving Awesome Kong and Hamada, pretty much stealing the win from Kong. She flattens Hamada. Tara is able to get rid of Kong, maybe hit the Widow's Peak to Hamada and pick up the victory. She will face ODB on next week's show for the Knockouts Championship, but the focus after the match is not on Tara celebrating another shot, but on Hamada, who looks to Kong. Kong is furious to have lost the match, but there seems to be some sort of understanding between the two. It's non-verbal, but Hamada, who has beaten Sarita and Taylor Wilde, was reported to be on the lookout for a tag team partner, and there's no better person to align yourself with than Awesome Kong. That's something that's going to develop. No confirmation of them teaming, but I do have in mind potentially a tag team between the two, which is what happened in real life on the January 4th show of TNA Impact, and potentially something I'm going to do on next week's. This leads into Mike Tenay and Taz putting over the card. We get graphics for Heyman's first show in charge. All the titles in TNA will be on the line, and we're putting over that this is a pay-per-view style, a pay-per-view level show. I've got the card written down here, so I'll just go through. I'm not going to say all 8 matches because something could change between now and then, which is a bit of a cop-out, but we've got AJ Styles versus Bobby Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. We've got Desmond Wolfe versus Kurt Angle, where Angle has agreed to put his number 1 contendership on the line. The British Invasion will take their rematch against Motor City Machine Guns in a World Tag Team title match. Amazing Red will defend his TNA X Division Championship in an Ultimate X. As just confirmed in the previous segments, Tara will face ODB for the championship, ODB currently holding that title. Eric Young will face an unnamed opponent defending his global championship, and just coming in, Sarita and Taylor Wilde will face Awesome Kong and Hamada. There's also potentially, currently what I've got planned is Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe on that show, but that's not confirmed and not hyped up during this segment because I'm not 100% sure that we're going to have time for that, but it is a 3-hour pay-per-view style show. As I said, every single title in the company on the line, and I think that's going to be a huge start to the Paul Heyman era, along with a couple of surprises that we have planned. What isn't a surprise is AJ Styles and Samoa Joe's victory. Tomko, the fall guy, as he has been since he came back to the company. AJ Styles pinning Tomko, getting his revenge, getting the comeuppance, and a happy ending for him to end 2009. He celebrates in the ring. Samoa Joe ensures that it's not actually a happy ending for him, hitting a muscle buster to the man who he could potentially be facing at any time due to the fact he has that feast or fired briefcase. Joe doesn't have the case with him now. That was more of a warning shot, and he is happy to send a message, but not yet ready to cash in. I hate the use of that word for the feast or fired because it reminds me too much of Money in the Bank, but he is not yet ready to invoke his World Championship shot. Lashley, however, comes out to end the show. He's smirking, he's happy. Of course, he is pleased to see AJ Styles laid out 7 nights before their TNA World Heavyweight Championship match, which will main event the first episode of the Paul Heyman era. So it's not a particularly good rated show. We've done better than that, but it does increase popularity in 26 regions. That's not what's important though. What is important is that this is the end of the series, potentially the last show that I'll book for TEW 2016, and moreover, we are now set everything in place for Paul Heyman's debut next week. There are no shows between them, nothing that can change, or no spanners that can hopefully be thrown in the works unless something happens in the first week of 2010 on TEW 2020. All that's left now, I suppose, is to look forward to what we're going to do on that show, and I am going to show my shortlist, who I'm thinking about bringing in. I'm going to probably set up a poll or a survey on either SurveyMonkey or Google Surveys. I struggle with Google Surveys a bit, so probably on SurveyMonkey actually, but just put in a list of names. All the people on this shortlist, there's some weird names. Jesse Goddard's probably not somebody I'm going to sign, and also everybody on the TNA roster currently, and it's going to be like a keep or fire or sign or don't sign. Just going to ask opinions on what people watching want to see from Paul Heyman's TNA 2010. I've got it in my mind pretty strongly already about who I want to sign and how I want the divisions to shape up, but there are people like Brother Ray and Brother Devon, Rhino, potential other signings, Jeff Hardy, Mr. Anderson, Rob Van Dam is somebody who I'm really torn on. Obviously he's got the history with Paul Heyman, but he is 38 and his TNA run, there were some good matches, but it wasn't great and it wasn't inspiring. So I'm not 100% sure on quite a lot of these people, so it will be a help to see what people think. That'll be in the description below, and hopefully it is sooner than later that we see this series in TW 2020. There's no mod for 2010 that I know of for TW 2016, so whether it's something that I'm going to have to convert and put in the work to try and make it compatible with the new save. If I do cross over this mod from 2016 to 2020, it was already from 2013, so it's going to need a lot of work, and the ratings are a little bit too high. People are very, very over compared to what they probably would be in other mods. But we'll see how I do that. Maybe somebody will make a mod on the off chance, I don't know. But I'm determined to somehow, some way book TNA 2010, this Paul Heyman series that I'm really, really interested in. A really interesting direction from the company, and hopefully it comes out well when it finally comes out. Also, the ECW 2007 series will be continuing, and based on the Cornelverse and based on everything else, I'll probably be starting a few other games. Whether those will be Diaries on Grey Dog Software or posted on here, I don't know, but I'm very much looking forward to that game. And if this is the last show that I book in TW 2016, I'm happy that it is done to set up something in TW 2020 that I think is going to be really, really good. The champions in the company going into that new era: Eric Young, ODB, Taylor Wilde and Sarita, AJ Styles, Motor City Machine Guns and Amazing Red, I think are all perfect for the division. The Global Championship I'm not that much of a fan of, but I think that in terms of the other champions, they represent TNA really well. Amazing Red is a perfect embodiment of the X Division. The Motor City Machine Guns on their first run as tag team champions, so that's a big thing that we're going to try and put over this team that have been together for so long, and how important it is for them to finally be the champions. AJ Styles is Mr. TNA. He's the best guy in the company without question at this time as far as I'm concerned. Well, Kurt Angle is certainly on his level, but in terms of representing TNA, Taylor Wilde and Sarita, the first and only currently Knockouts tag team champions, and ODB, who I think is a TNA original. She's not been in WWE before. That was why I didn't put the belt on Tara at this time. I do think that Tara is very talented and will probably hold the title in the future, but I wanted to go into 2010 knowing that ODB is the champion, somebody with a very unique character, and I think to new viewers her abrasive approach could really catch on, and I'm hoping to continue to push her. I really love this roster, and we will see how it goes as we book in TW 2020.